Good evening, Bucknutters. Now that's more like it. Let's go. Welcome to What We Learned Live. I am Dave Biddle following Ohio State's dominant 42-17 win over Tennessee. Who saw that coming? I did not. I picked Ohio State to win by 4. They decided to just go out there and just dominate. I don't even know if 42-17 even does it justice, but welcome into the show. I'm Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker, Heath, Schneider, Patrick Murphy eventually. And welcome into the show. That was the most enjoyable Ohio State game for me since Clemson in 2020. So 4 years ago in the CFP. Similar colors. And then, obviously it harkened back a little bit to Wisconsin, the way that started in 2014. Not that it was 59-0 tonight, but the way it started, it was like, oh my goodness, 21-0, boom, in the first quarter. My favorite first quarter for Ohio State football in a long time. But that was fantastic. I know we're all going to sit here and say, well, why couldn't they do that against Michigan? I know. Let's just enjoy this. Because everybody left Ohio State for dead. You had Kirk Herbstreit saying stupid things like they should have, they'd be better served to go on the road. Once proven wrong, he couldn't help himself tonight, even at the end of the game. He was like, well, heaven forbid they lose to Oregon or the fans won't Ryan Day fired again. He just can't help himself. That's all right. Let's not talk about Herbie. Let's not talk about whatever happened at the end of the regular season because, that team up north can enjoy the Miracle Whip Bowl or wherever they're going. They didn't even make the Duke's Mayo Bowl. They're going to the Miracle Whip Bowl or something. So let them have fun with that. So Ohio State's playing for a national championship now. I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see when the betting odds come out. I bet you anything, Ohio State's going to be right there as one of the favorites to win it all, if not the favorite. Speaking of the favorite, well, I shouldn't pick between my friends, but I like J Book a lot. Oh, hey J Book, how you doing?
What up, Dave?
Oh man, how great was that?
What a game! I'm fired up, man. That was a soul cleansing type of game that Buckeye Nation really needed.
I like the way you said that. That was soul cleansing. That's exactly what it was. Yes, it's a bit. I just said like it was the best I felt since like the Clemson game.
Yeah.
In 2020. Yeah.
The one thing that got me fired up, them boys were laying the lumber. I mean, they was absolutely, literally cracking heads.
Yes. Yeah, when the opposing quarterback needs to get a new helmet, it's like, geez, you guys are hitting, huh? And like what about the pass or I know we're used to in football. You're not going to go through a football game without a questionable roughing the passer. But how about that? Try to keep them in the game, roughing the passer on JT when it was 21-0 Ohio State.
All right, hey, look, Dave. Let me set it up for you. So I'm out here. Everybody knows I'm in Arizona, right? It's nice out right now. I'm on my back patio bar. Game on. Got an adult beverage fired up. Once I start seeing them boys flying around hitting Dave, neighbors probably 7 houses down heard me in the backyard yelling. I'm out there like, let's go.
Good.
Let's go. And hey, I was just so hyped up just to see how physical and how they were just out there just laying the wood, man. Hey, that was beautiful to see.
It was so good. And like this is exactly what we've been waiting for. Even like when they Indiana game, they came on, like obviously played great in the second half. They did not put like a full game together until they did. And what a time to do it. It was like they
Unbelievable.
heard all the chirping.
Yeah.
And the fans showed up. I mean, Tennessee, there's a good amount of Tennessee fans. The idea that Tennessee fans were going to take the stadium over, like, get the hell out of Dodge. But, like, I tell you what, man, Buckeyes stepped up in all ways. Coaching, offense, defense, everybody stepped up.
The great thing about it, and you and I talked about it on our show yesterday, Dave, is going into this game, you could not go into this game saying, hey, we're just going to purposely run right behind those guards. I thought tonight Chip Kelly did a really good job scheming around his weaknesses. I mean, Donnie Jackson played outstanding football. And then the biggest question mark What do we say, Dave? They talked about the guard rotation. It's either going to be great or it's going to be an epic fail. And it was great tonight. I thought Luke Montgomery played extremely well. Tegra probably had his best game as a Buckeye. But the thing about it is they did a lot of trapping tonight. They did a lot of counter action. They sent wide receivers in misdirection. The great thing about it is Chip Kelly gave a lot of eye candy to the Tennessee defense. They were shifting linebackers in opposite direction and coming backside with a lot of those delayed handoffs. I thought was absolutely great the way that they schemed this game. They knew that they just couldn't necessarily line up and do the same type of game plan that we saw in previous with the dives. I like the way that they attack this Tennessee defense. And the fascinating thing is all week, last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've been hearing, oh, Tennessee goes about 10, 11 deep. They have a deep rotation. Them boy on the defense line, smash. Them boys got their shit packed up and sent back to the backwoods. They got absolutely smashed in the trenches, Dave.
No doubt about it. And I tell you what, Luke Montgomery, as you mentioned, Jay Book, like the few times that I isolated on him, that I rewound it a couple times. I don't know. First of all, it's a topic for a different day. What took so long? But the kid stepped up. He played really, really well.
Yeah, it's
No
crazy
O-line.
because Austin Servo, I thought he played really well. Come to find out that he's been banged up and hasn't practiced a whole lot. He was able to get in there, and the defensive line, to me, Dave, probably played one of their best games. And the one thing that you and I also talked about, we knew going into this game that Tennessee was going to play a lot of tempo, right? So what was the key? We talked about it's going to be imperative that Larry Johnson has a deep rotation. It's the third play of the game, and Kenyatta Jackson was in in the game. So you saw a very deep rotation there with the defensive line there, and those guys played with their hair on fire. I mean, we haven't seen a game like this, Dave, all year. And the one thing that gets me so fired up about this game, I knew it was in them. Like you look at the talent, you knew it was in there somewhere. Can you please just pull it out? And it was always like they will play with their food early on to start games, and then they would turn it on later. And then you're like, okay, there we are, and you would see glimpse of it. Now you saw it from the word go. The word go. They just jumped on those dudes and they were just hitting them with a flurry of punches. And that was probably the first game in a very long time that you saw a Ryan Day team really flex who they are. They really flex their power. And not only that, you also saw Ohio State flex their power tonight as far as holding an incredible atmosphere in a night game, Dave. Like, and I tweeted it earlier. It's a shame what Fox does to Ohio State, man. Like to see the drones, the light shows, the pyros, the crowd was electric. I mean, they were playing the Kendrick Lamar "Not Like Us" after we were up 35-10. The the
Ooh.
music, I mean, the music was blaring and stuff. I'm just like, what? I was like, we never get this type of environment for a noon kickoff, man. So hey, kudos to the Ohio State, facility. Those guys in the athletic department, they put on an absolute show. It was all, and I'm 100% convinced, Dave. Fox mutes the audio for the crowd because it's a clear difference hearing the audio from the crowd on an ESPN telecast game than what you hear on Fox.
They definitely do. And poor Drake just can't get away from it, man. He's even getting trolled at Ohio Stadium. This isn't Drake. This is Jeremy Blake. We've had a lot
Yeah,
of people say BTA for J Book, belt to ass. I mean, it was belt to ass a lot tonight. I mean, I'm going to ask you about Will Howard in a moment, but just the
yeah.
absolute domination, just the BTA, as you like to say.
Oh man, they jumped all over him. I mean, it's so great. Those SEC boys, they crossed the Mason Dixon line. They try to come up there with their shirts off, trying to be tough, and they just got absolutely mollywopped. They got smashed. I can't wait. I can't wait for all the talking. And the thing that's kind of foul. You heard that commentator last night try to really just shit on Indiana about how they don't belong, how they shouldn't be there.
I
You
didn't hear
didn't
that.
hear
Who said
any.
that? Who said that?
The commentator for the Indiana Notre Dame game was really talking about how
Oh,
Alabama should have been in over Indiana and they shouldn't have been in the playoffs and they don't play the type of schedule you see in the SEC. You didn't hear any of that commentary. I mean, what about Kirk Herbstreit? Was he a little off the rails tonight? I mean, was Kurt sipping up there in the booth, man? Because he was just going crazy on Ohio State fans.
I just think that's typical Kirk Herbstreit. You know, I mean, that
Yeah,
didn't surprise me. I put something on Twitter, like he just can't help himself.
he can't help himself. Like, tell me this, Dave. We all watch a lot of college football. Do you ever hear anybody in a professional broadcast talk about another fan base like that? Like,
Especially
never.
when he's completely wrong. He's like bitter because Ohio State fans don't like him. He'll lie and say things like, "Oh yeah, my family was harassed at my mansion in Upper Arlington." Nobody's buying that. Nobody harassed his family when he lived in Columbus. We all know really why he left. We don't need to get into that right now unless we want
But
to.
I will say that.
But if we wanted to, I don't
Yeah,
care.
I will say this. There is a large segment of the base that was completely out on Ryan Day. Okay. And they have their reasons and their justifiable reasons. But to put that on the air and to talk about those type of things, that's a internal battle amongst Ohio State fans. For Kurt Herbstreit to go on the air and to try to belittle and put down the entire fan base
Mhm.
for something that should be talked about internally amongst the fans is totally inappropriate for his type of for the commentary. I was like, hey man, this Ohio State team has played their absolute butt off. They're smashing the SEC team. Let's talk about how good they have played on a national syndicated broadcast, as opposed to how there's a certain segment of the fan base who has high expectations and find that Ryan Day losing to Michigan 4 times in a row is unacceptable. Okay. That's not his job to be putting that type of laundry out on a major syndicated broadcast, Dave. Totally inappropriate.
I'll get you out of here on this. I'm going to bring Heater in a moment, but I want to ask you about Will Howard, like I said, and you can say anything else you want to. And you're welcome to stay on. I just don't want to keep you too long. But my gosh, Big Willie style played well tonight. He saved his best for not last, but at least last game in Ohio Stadium. Good on Will Howard, man.
Yeah, he dropping dimes. He looked great. I can stay on for a couple more minutes, but yeah, Will Howard played his absolute butt off today. And the great thing about it too, Dave, is he came in, he played poise. He was stretching the ball down the field. Once I knew this game was going to get out of hand once he started stretching the ball down the field and hitting those deep throws. Because at that point, Tennessee couldn't cheat those safeties up. They had to respect Jeremiah Smith. I'm actually dumbfounded that Tennessee decided to put their corners on the island against the Ohio State wide receivers. Like you're going zero coverage. You're bringing a blitz. I mean, it was really Don Brown 2.0 type of situation that we were watching here. And then what did Ohio State do? It was like really a game, like a script that we saw Dwayne Haskins up in Michigan when Don Brown was sending the blitz and Dwayne Haskins was just sitting back there just killing them with the mesh routes. And Will Howard just stood back there poised. He was also able to really make them pay with their legs. A great game. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better game from Will Howard as he's getting ready to head over to the Rose Bowl. Just an absolutely brilliant game from him.
Let's welcome in Heater, Heath Schneider. Welcome in, Heater.
Hey, brother. How are you?
What's
I'm
up,
doing
Heater?
fantastic.
Hey, Jay Book. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. What a game, huh, brother?
Heck of a game. I agree with you 100% on Will Howard. That's always kind of been his bugaboo is one of two things, right? Like Dave and I have talked all year about him being streaky. There was no streakiness tonight. He didn't make any of that kind of one time per game bonehead. What was he thinking play? And the bugaboo he's not been all that great on deep throws tonight. He was absolutely fantastic. And I'll give it up to the Ohio State offensive line as well. 0 sacks surrendered against a really, really good defense. For him to take 0 sacks, and actually, I think they said he was only pressured 6 times tonight. For him to do that against a really good defense like that, kudos to him. Tip your hat with an 83% completion rate. Not what I would have expected. 311 yards, not what I would have expected out of him tonight, but very welcome to see it.
Gents, obviously the score looks just pristine, 42-17. How about these total yards? And this is with Tennessee tacking on yards late. Ohio State 473 total yards, Tennessee 256. How you like them apples?
Right. I mean, the thing about it, Jeremiah Smith, we all look at him and just like, goodness gracious. I'll ask you this, Dave, and I have my opinion. I think he's the best wide receiver that's ever come through Ohio State right now as a true freshman. I mean, I'm looking over here, and I just pulled up Twitter, and NFL people are saying he would be the number 1 pick right now, the first one since Keyshawn Johnson, if he were draft eligible this year. That tells you a lot. Like, as a true freshman, he would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft this upcoming spring.
So who do we think is number 2 if JJ is 1? Chris Carter?
Who'd you say? Yeah, Chris Carter.
Chris Carter.
It has to be Chris Carter.
Carter or Warfield, one of those two. They both have yellow jackets.
That's a pretty good trump card. Well, I mean, are you sure he's good? Well, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, he doesn't suck. Yeah. So, but seriously, man. And what's funny about JJ, he reminds me of, like, when Jamar Chase catches the ball, and he looks like Emmitt Smith all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a best runner, like one of the best runner, Barry Sanders. Not quite like that, but you know what I mean? Like, JJ looks like that, but he's like 6'4". I know he was listed at 6'3". He just looks like a running back after he catches it. He had a huge first down where most receivers do not get that first down. That was a huge first down.
The one where he gave up yards to get yards.
Yeah, near the sideline.
Yeah,
that was absolutely huge. And, like, hey, kudos to the offensive line. Kudos to Chip Kelly. Kudos to Ryan Day. The plan was great, and the boys executed it perfectly.
You know, the brilliant thing about it is he's so good that once Tennessee start trying to cheat a safety over top to try to slow him down, it just opened everything else up. Because at that point, you're like, hey, we can't guard him one-on-one. Like, there's no way. We don't have the speed. We don't have the corners, and one of their corners is supposed to be like a first-round pick or something like that. And JJ just took him behind the woodshed. And once they start cheating those safeties over top to try to slow him down, that's when you start seeing that running game open up a little bit more.
Coach Dave, and right now, I'm happy for Ryan Day. He's at the podium. I have it on mute. We'll hear from Patrick Murphy later, but I'm happy for Ryan Day. Go ahead, Heater.
No, I was just going to say, along with that, great game plan and scheming by Chip Kelly to finally bring him in and put him in the slot, have him run some different routes and make them find him on defense and have answers for the different positions he was going to play that tonight, because they really didn't do a lot of that prior to. They did a lot of that tonight, and it was great to see. I said in text to you while we were texting a little bit during the game, Dave Biddle, I said, it's not 59-0, but this is a statement game, right? This isn't 59-0 against Wisconsin in 2014, but this is that eye opener. We're here to play.
A lot like that, actually.
And you saw a team that was disciplined. They only had 2 penalties when it mattered. They had one, I think, in garbage time. They hit hard. They controlled the line. They controlled the ball on both sides of the game tonight. 1 time of possession, 1 yards. It was a butt whooping from start to finish, except for the lull in the second quarter when Jim Knowles took his foot off the gas, which I don't understand yet.
Right.
Jack Sawyer is a bad man. Go ahead, Jay Book.
I was going to say the one noticeable thing to me is how much faster and physical Ohio State was compared to Tennessee. I took a peek over to the 24/7 in-game thread. If anybody has a spare 15 or 20 minutes, trust me, go over to the Tennessee 24/7 board, look into that in-game thread from page 1 on, absolute gold mine. But the one unanimous thing that they were saying, Dave and Heater, I can't believe how much faster they are than we are. Like they're just moving at a different speed than we are. That's been kind of like the unanimous thought was like, what, like they were in just disbelief. Their fans, they couldn't believe. They were just like, why are we moving so slow compared to them? Like we can't block them. They're wide receivers. We can't check them. And it's pretty funny. Like you go over there and check it out and the speed difference. And I thought whatever the Ohio State staff did, including Mickey Marotti, tip of the cap to them because they came in and it looked like they had some fresh legs. Like I don't know what they did, but they were moving at a different speed than what we've seen all year.
I gotta give, and I'm gonna get Jay Book's thoughts on this too. Like, I gotta give like Ryan Day credit for like luring everybody to sleep, thinking they sucked after the Michigan game. Like, we're gonna lose to a really bad Michigan team just to make everybody think we suck, and then we're just gonna hammer the hell out of Tennessee, and then we're gonna go do the same thing to Oregon. Pretty boss move out of him. I mean, I don't know, pretty, so far it's working. We'll see.
I will say this: if this Ohio State team shows up against Oregon, it's going to be an absolute battle. I personally think this is the national championship. Whoever wins this Rose Bowl, in my mind, I think they're going to go on to win the national championship because I think the Buckeyes, and if Ohio State plays, if we get this Ohio State versus Oregon, this is the two best teams in all of college football. And the winner who comes out of that game, I think will probably go on to win the national championship. Because at that point, if you're talking about an Ohio State team that smashes Tennessee at home, goes on the road to Pasadena, get that revenge game against Oregon, you're talking about a very, very hot Ohio State team that's playing their best football in the playoffs.
And check this out. This doesn't even surprise me. I need to back this up, but I believe Chris on YouTube, early line, Ohio State favored by 1.5. Not surprised.
I'm not surprised. I kind of wrote about that, Jay Book, in my immediately after the game analysis. I said this is the team that we expected all year. This is the team that can win a natty. They played smart, they played physical, they were disciplined, and they were inspired. And that goes back to the Ryan Day, because when I started my analysis, it basically said everybody's given up on this team. Everybody thinks they've sucked. They've jumped ship from Ryan Day. But you would think that all they had were failures this year. But guess what? There were a whole lot of successes this year too. And those successes continued tonight. And they played, you are correct, at a different speed. That defense was playing, the entire defense in the first quarter was playing as though they were JTT in the fourth quarter against any PSU team out there, right? The entire defense was playing like that. Ears pinned back, A to B as fast as you can. It was inspiring to see that they came out like this. Still don't understand why they backed off everything in the second quarter, but they fixed it coming out in the third quarter, so that makes it okay, I guess. I agree with you also that next week this game against Oregon is likely to be, in my opinion, the national championship, so to speak, two best teams. But I'm also convinced, given what Penn State has to go through, that it's an all Big Ten final anyway.
Yeah. I will say this before I hop off here, Dave. I'm very proud of that secondary. Davidson, Igbinosun, Denzel Burke, they probably played their best game as corners. The only offense, I mean, there was nothing. Nico had absolutely zero to throw to. Those guys absolutely locked it down on the secondary. Tennessee's only hope for offense was Nico scrambling on busted plays because he had 0 options downfield. That is the perfect game for that secondary as they're heading to the Rose Bowl to try to slay some demons, especially Denzel Burke. Once you have a game like that on a stage like that, they call this in college, Dave. They call it the money games. Whenever you have the stage so bright and all eyes are on you, it's a money game. When you perform extremely well in a money game, that confidence grows. As corners, those guys, they should be heading into that Rose Bowl with their confidence sky high. And Jermaine Matthews looks absolutely great. I mean, he looked good when he was in there as well. Caleb Downs missed some open field tackles and stuff, but not worried about him at all. And I thought Lathan Ransom played absolutely fantastic as well.
Igbinosun with 0 pass interference penalties. Didn't even know that was possible. Hey, it's almost the new year. New year, new Iggy.
Lighten up people too. J-Book, thank you, sir. I appreciate you so much, man.
All right, talk to you guys
Hopefully I can
next
get you
week,
on. So we got the Rose Bowl New Year's Day, Ohio State, Oregon. Maybe I can get you on the post-game show on New Year's
we'll
Day.
see. I might be in Vegas.
Well, yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes I can have Heater on the show when he's in Vegas.
No.
If you're in Vegas, we'll get you on for the after the semifinals. How about that?
We might have to talk about a sports book doing like a Bucknuts sponsored post-game show or something like that. Hey, brainstorming, Dave, on the late night.
Dan Rubin will hook that up. If the corporate won't do it, Dan will do that out of his pocket. I think that's the type of guy he is.
I'll volunteer.
Look it up. We'll fly. If Mr. Bucknuts put us on Bucknuts 1, we'll be good to go.
All right.
We gotta find a pilot. We got the.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy.
Pilot.
Have a good one, J-Book.
All right. Thanks, J-Book. Well, I mean, Heater was in the Air Force. That's close enough.
Close enough, man.
Close enough. You can fly the plane.
Amen.
So, like, I mean, how great is this? And I kept saying, Heater, if they can beat Tennessee, Ohio State's going to be extremely dangerous because, like, the Michigan stench and everything, and just now, not that it's house money, but like, man, they're dangerous. I mean, the way they played tonight, there's a reason they were the betting favorite coming into the season to win the national championship. Yeah. There's a reason, even though they came in with the 8th seed and had to play 4 games to win it, they were still tied with Georgia entering the playoff with the 3rd best odds to win it all. So, man, Ohio State now, I'm curious to see the updated odds. I bet Ohio State's the favorite to win it all now.
I would be curious to see that as well. There's no doubt. I mean, people can mock the 20 million all they want, or whatever the actual number is, right? But this is a talented roster. This is a deep roster. It's deeper than I thought it was coming into the season. All we did was you and I mean, specifically, we talked about the offensive line and the woes behind that. We had 2 major injuries and a couple others along the way. And somehow this offensive line in playoff round 1 gave up 0 sacks and allowed 473 yards to be put up on backups. And in some ways, like when you lose the best center in college football and you're going back to a guy that was lost on on the side of milk cartons for months, I'm shocked that we're where we're at. But this is a talented roster. And when you have that kind of talent, it stacks up and it steps up. And this is what happened tonight. I mean, you see it right now. And so whether that 20 million is real or not, it is a roster that was put together to win championships. They missed out on Michigan. They missed out on the Big Ten. They're still 1 for 3, but that one is the biggest one that you can get, regardless of what people say about Michigan. The national championship trumps everything, because 20 years from now, if they win a national championship, they'll come back to talk about the national championship. The 2004 team has not gotten back together in 20 years. I didn't recall them on the side of the field this year for having beaten Michigan.
It's true. Sorry about the color of this. I'm not allowed to have this because Ohio State won. Sorry about the color of this.
Oh, it's all right.
Typically, I like this.
I just want to go trolling on Twitter right now to all the Tennessee fans that put up the map of where they were going to dump the goalposts and to the people that were said, hey, can't wait to get into this poverty place and show them what its real team is like and all of that.
Interesting, somebody from East Tennessee talking about coming up here to poverty, but whatever works.
Absolutely. It's like people from West Virginia talking about the proper accent to have. It's just not the way to be done, right?
I'm going to go through some stats real quick. So I talked about the total yards. Ohio State almost doubled the total yards, which was great. I'm going to get into some individual stats too. So Ohio State, again, total yards 473, Tennessee 256. So Tennessee got some late, but for a while, Ohio State was like more than doubling them up. Let's look at some individual stats. Big Willie style, Will Howard, 24 of 29, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Fantastic. Travion Henderson, 10 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Will Howard, 5 carries, 37 yards. Quinshawn Judkins, 10 carries, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith, 6 receptions, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka, 5 receptions, 81 yards. Travion Henderson, 4 receptions for 54 yards. And G. Scott Jr., 4 receptions for 39 yards, including a huge play. Just flowers all around for some of these offensive guys. We can talk about the defensive guys too, like Jack Sawyer, 1.5 sacks. JT Tuimoloau, 2 sacks. Ty Hamilton had a 0.5 sack. Man, just
Dave, I was shocked. My one shocker on offense tonight was Carnell Tate with 1 reception. I would have thought that he would have been more involved in the passing attack. He typically has been, and that one caught me off guard. He only even had 1 target. It was a nice 18-yard reception, if you'll recall, right on the sideline where he got the foot down. But I would have thought he would have had more targets at least. But how am I going to complain about it when the guy, when you go 24 for 29, right? I guess in part I sit there and I worry, and as we are around the transfer portal, that someone like that with all that talent, because next year when it's JJ Smith and Carnell as the 2 guys, that they're going to lean on him heavily. But I guess, hey, you're still in the playoffs, so there's always next week or next game, I guess, where you can have more targets thrown your way. It just caught me off guard. I would have thought he had more than 1 target.
I'm with you. That was surprising. Can't say enough about the offensive line. I was hoping if they had a stalemate, I thought that'd be good for Ohio State. They could scheme around it as long as the offensive line doesn't get it's not like, yeah, Tennessee definitely won the battle. It's like kind of a stalemate. I was thinking, okay, that'll be good for Ohio State. No, it wasn't just like Will Howard throwing the ball up to JJ, which that was good. The offensive line got the better of Tennessee's defensive line. I never would have expected that. Kudos to the offensive line. I don't know why it took till game 13 for Luke Montgomery to get his shot, but he played well.
I'm glad he did. I'm glad you honestly, given what they've gone through, Dave, you really can't say enough about this offensive line. And I mean, keep in mind, this is the most points Tennessee gave up by far this year, right? So this is a really good defense. They were second in the nation in scoring defense. Is that right?
I think Tennessee came in 4th in both.
Okay.
They were 4th in scoring, 4th in total, and Ohio State was 1st in both.
Yeah.
And that'll stay the same.
Absolutely. But my point is they're going up against a really good defense. Top 5 defense, right? Yep. Top 5 defense. Let's just say that. They're going up against the top 5 defense, and they're going in with a whole bunch of Band-Aids all over them from the 100% true tonight.
Oh, whoops. I clicked on that. Sorry.
You know what? Here's the thing about Herbie. I'm normally like a Herbie defender because I think he sacrifices a lot of goodwill that he could have with the fan base by trying to be an honest reporter And when he thinks something's bad, and oftentimes I'll even admit he will go too far on the Ohio State stuff and say it's bad because he doesn't want to be seen as a homer. At the same time, I am so happy that he is not the clown that Desmond Howard is, and the complete homer job that he is.
That's a low bar, though.
It is a low bar.
Like me, like saying, like, I love Heater, but I'm glad he's not like, pick like POS, like whoever. Like,
it's like saying you have better hair than me.
It's just he can't help himself. He's so mad at all the backlash that he took from the stupid thing that he said during the selection show that he had to take another shot tonight when Ohio State's blowing out Tennessee. Yeah. Now Fowler is hilarious. I've heard Fowler doesn't really like him, and you can kind of see that, like they don't hang out together. You can kind of feel that, like if you actually listen to the broadcast. Fowler did kind of set him up, like, hey, he's kind of like needling him a little bit. So he did set it, because I went back and listened to it. But Herbie cannot help himself. For him to take another shot at Ohio State fans there, what are you doing? You take the shot like, oh, well, if they lose to Oregon, God forbid they lose to Oregon, then all these lunatic fans are going to want Ryan Day fired again. What are you doing, man?
20% of the fan base, I hear.
What are you doing, man? He's
just
mad because Ohio State fans don't like him. Hey, Will Howard threw 2 touchdowns tonight. You double that. That's how many touchdowns Herbstreit threw his entire season that he was a starter. He threw 4 touchdowns the entire season. He was terrible.
Fantastic.
Awful.
So just to finish that thought, I normally am almost an apologist for Herbie, because I think I understand what he's trying to do. Tonight, he was garbage. He was so bad. It was absolutely terrible to watch him try to. I don't even know what he was trying to do tonight. It was just, he was completely on the offensive, trying to be offensive. I believe it was absolutely insane and completely off the Herbie train at this point, because it was just sad. Hey, can we talk refs for a second? I thought the refereeing was terrible. I will give way and say, okay, it was a close call, but that was an interception at the back of the end zone. Okay, but you completely botched the pass interference that was happening at that moment that caused that interception to happen.
I don't really like Bill Lamonier, but it was funny. I don't like him, but he was like, "Yeah, that looks like an interception." But what's up with they don't call the pass interference there? And then I hate to even say anything nice about Herbie right now, but he was like, "Yeah, Bill, that's not what we're talking about right now, though." Maybe that was Fowler, actually. I don't know.
That's not reviewable.
Yeah.
I thought the roughing the passer when Igbinosun had an interception that was then wiped out. I thought that was a terrible call. The quarterback Nico jumped into the arms of the defender, who just then pancaked him down. I don't think there was intent there. Yes, he put full weight on him, but it was not something where he was going towards him with the vicious intent of, I'm going to pummel this guy. I thought that was a terrible call. There were several others in there that I thought were just terrible. But those were the 2 prime ones that I would recall. And then I also want to just mention the 1995 Tennessee team that cheated in the Citrus Bowl by wearing longer cleats after halftime in a monsoon of a game. I hold grudges. This is one of them, and this is payback for all of that.
It's so funny you said that. One of my friends, because he's 8 years younger than me. I know I'm very old, but I do a show on 97.1 with a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
And, this was announced, and I'm like, Tennessee. I'm like, all right, we owe them. He's like, haha, yeah. Thought I was joking. He's like, oh, you're serious? I'm like, yeah. I was a freshman at Ohio State, that game, and it still pisses me off to this day that Ohio State lost that game in the Citrus Bowl that meant absolutely nothing. But back then it did mean something. Actually, Peyton Manning. So we waited 29 years. And I tell you what, Buckeyes got revenge and then some. I mean, the fact that they won this game 42-17, and 42-17, what's beautiful about that, Heater, doesn't even do it justice almost, how much they just beat their ass.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know if you recall, Dave, but if maybe you do. that Citrus Bowl, it was like 3 months later that the NCAA came out and said, yes, that's exactly what happened. They wore longer cleats. We investigated. They admitted they did. And so they made them write a formal apology to the university, to Ohio State, saying, we're really sorry that we cheated. And that was it. No other sanctions, nothing else. It was just write a letter that says you're sorry. Write 100 times on the blackboard, I will not cheat by wearing long cleats again. It was one of the most ridiculous things. I mean, the NCAA is great at stopping recruiting violations, right? Identifying those and then dropping hammers down on all that stuff. Actual in-game cheating. The Citrus game is a prime example. Everything about Connor Stallions is a fantastic example. They sit there and twiddle their thumbs and say, well, we don't really know what to do about this. It's in-game cheating and our refs are supposed to handle it. No, you're failing at your job as the entity that oversees the entire process. You're failing at the job of keeping a level and fair playing field, and you're doing nothing about it and acting like everything's okay. Again, I hold grudges.
I do too. I mean, anybody who says they don't is lying. It's just, to what degree do we hold grudges, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
You're not human if you don't hold grudges. Like, you shouldn't be obsessive about it, but like, don't lie. Everybody holds grudges to some degree.
Right. I didn't wake up every morning for the last 29 years looking in the mirror saying, I'm going to get even with you. I'm going to get even with you. But when the opportunity came and it was time for us to play Tennessee again, I was very happy to see a 42-17, which again, like you said, does not even describe the butt whooping that they took. 21-0 felt, and how quick that happened, felt a lot like, 2010 against Wisconsin, when Ohio State went up to Wisconsin and then just fell down. They were number one going into the game. It was October game. And do you remember this game?
Bad weather game.
Yeah, bad weather game. And it was like immediately 17-0 or what's that?
Oh, you talking about 2010? Did Wisconsin return the opening kickoff for a touchdown, or
I think that might be right. I remember us being down like 17-0 or 21-0, like in the first quarter. It was crazy how quickly it happened. And there was nothing that the Ohio State, they just went up there and got shellacked. How
about the fans, Buckeye fans showing up? They heard all the chirping. By the way, what was the final count? I want to hear from the fans, the chat as well. What did it look like if you were there? What did it look like? Do we think it was 20% balls, 25%? There was all this talk that it was going to be like 30, 35%, 40%. No. What was it, like 20, 25?
I'd say 20, 25 if I had to guess, right?
Yeah.
Take out the entirety of the South stands. That was all red, right?
Well, include that.
Well,
25, 20. Yeah, we got 20, 25, yeah.
Yeah, I think that feels about right.
Yeah, we're talking percentage.
But they went quiet so quick.
I know. It's the looks on their faces, it's priceless. I can't wait to rewatch the game for so many reasons. Not just to watch the fans after it was like 21-0 when they showed the Tennessee fans were just like, and like, I have no hate for Tennessee. Like, I've even said, listen, like, that's a sleeping giant. I've said that for 29 years. Like, it's a robust fan base. That's why what Herbie said about Ohio State would be better served playing this game at Neyland Stadium, one of the dumbest things that anybody said in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
Neyland Stadium is legit. Like, they get down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is Tennessee. That's a tough place to play.
100%.
This is a good team, and Ohio State just made them. It looked like a good varsity team against a bad JV team.
It absolutely did. Hey, great memory, by the way. Wisconsin did have that kickoff return to open the game for a touchdown. Ohio State went down 14-0 after 21-0 at the half. And there was just, after that, there was nothing they were going to do that was going to stop them.
You were probably serving our country in like Afghanistan or Qatar or Iraq or some shit like that.
October 2010. No, I was stateside then. No, I wasn't. I was in the middle of Qatar. As a matter of fact, right in the middle of Qatar.
There you go. Right. That's when you were just like jogging every day in 150-degree heat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long, right? I mean, like you like went jogging like every morning in like this like crazy heat.
So I went at night. In the morning. Okay. By the time it got to 6 a.m, it was way too hot. So I would run at like 9 o'clock at night. It was still 90 to 90 plus degrees, but we had these giant like Hesco or Jersey barriers, those big concrete barriers on the sides of the road. And as you would run by those, it was just radiating heat as you went along. And it was like you were getting a schwitz.
Well, man. Yeah, so the fact that you were still following the Buckeyes when you're in Qatar, of course you were. No surprise there. Do you need to run? If you need to run, let me know.
I just had dogs playing.
Trying
to make sure they too many schnauzers that were our sisters, and they're just playing with each other, making all kind of snorting noises.
I've never seen anything like this. So like normally if you have like a strong take, like, and even if you're trying to be fair, which I think we are, like about Herbstreit.
Yeah.
There's going to be like people that agree and some people that push back, right? Some people agree, some people push back.
Yeah.
We're getting the agree. We're not getting the pushback from anyone. Watch like somebody push back now. I haven't seen one person in the chat say, yeah, but like Herbie, like defend him here. Like, no, everybody's just like, screw this guy.
I want to, because like I said, I think I understand why he does what he does, taking it further than he needs to so he never seems like a homer. I totally get it. And I totally recognize that, yeah, he was a team captain. His dad was a captain, all of that. But dude was completely terrible tonight. He was awful tonight. And
yep.
You know what? Herbie, you're gonna have to earn back any respect from me, because it was just terrible. And again, coming from, like I said, I tried 8 ways from Sunday to give him the respect he deserves, or deserved at the time. I thought he did, but oh wow. So I have the box score from that Wisconsin game up. Can you guess who the leading receiver was for the Buckeyes? Most yards receiving in that game. It is
2010.
2010.
So it wouldn't be DeVere Posey, or you wouldn't be saying it like that.
No, this one you're gonna have to dig deep on.
Geez, I don't know. So it wasn't Sanzenbacher.
It was Sanzenbacher.
It was?
Yes.
Oh, the way you said it, I was just like, oh, well, it couldn't have been either of the starting receivers.
Well, I would have never thought it would be Sanzenbacher. Like he only had
Dane just gets it done. That's what he does. Dane Sanzenbacher. And I used to call him Sanzenbacher. I do think he pronounces it Sanzenbacher. Regardless, Dane Sanzenbacher gets it done. He used to like in the playoffs his senior year, he led his team to a state title. Dude, Dane does some radio here in town. Like I don't think I've co-hosted with him, but he often comes in to do the show after mine. Dude's not big. He's not a big guy.
No,
he's just
not at all.
Fast and smart. And so he's out there at 5'11", 180, throwing his body around. Dane Sanzenbacher even played a few years in the NFL.
Yeah, he was with the Bengals for a little while, wasn't he?
With the Bengals, but yeah, Bears. Began his career with the Bears, played a couple years with the Bengals. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just I would have never thought to think he'd be the guy that would have led that team in that game in receiving that game. I don't know why. I guess I never thought highly of him. I always thought his dad was like I had a pretty good relationship with his dad when Dane was inbound, and I always thought his dad was a really good dude. But I guess I remember Dane as having less of a career than what he had. He caught 124 balls and almost 1,900 yards.
I feel bad for that 2010 team. I see DeVere a lot too. I mean, DeVere does a lot of stuff at the Fan as well. But it's funny, though. Both those guys were the starting receivers on that team. DeVere was a year younger than Dane. But I feel bad for those guys because that 2010 team, it basically got like erased from the record books. And that was a hell of a good team. That's the only – stop looking at that game. That's the only game those guys lost. They were 12-1. Look at the Arkansas game. Look at the Michigan game that year. If you want to look at a Wisconsin game, may I point you to the 2014 Big Ten championship game?
Wisconsin game? I mentioned it earlier. I said it's 59-0.
And you nailed it. Like when you texted me, it's like it did feel like that. I was thinking this felt like –
that's a good one too.
This is the first time since the Clemson game 4 years ago.
Yeah,
it felt just like that, and it was such. That might have been better just because Clemson like busted Ohio State's ass a couple times, and this like Tennessee didn't have anything other than the old guys like us 29 years ago. But it wasn't fresh like that. So Clemson might have been a little bit better, but this was great, and it reminded me just like the Clemson game.
Yeah, so that's a good call out. I especially when you go back to the previous Clemson game there at the in Phoenix or Glendale when they waxed us. What was that, 31-0 or whatever it was?
Yeah,
that was the game where they moved me over into that like 30-yard line.
That was the best part of the game. You got in a suite somehow.
I was the only one in it.
There was nothing else that was good about that. It was like, well, where's Heater going to sit? We don't know. Where's he? Oh, he's in a suite by himself. Okay, it's going to be a great night.
It was me and all the sweet food, and that was it. And I was like, how did this just happen? It's like, there's got to be a camera on me somewhere, Oh my gosh.
So the Ducks, what do you think Oregon's thinking right now? You think Oregon's like, oh crap, or you think they're like, yeah, come on, we got this?
So I think if you believe that a school or a team takes on the personality of its coach, I think they're probably arrogant, cocky, and think they can beat the world. To be honest with you, because Dan Lanning is, while I do believe he's a really, really good coach, I also believe he's wildly arrogant and cocky. So I think they would have rather seen Tennessee, but they're going to take the attitude of, we can beat these guys. We already beat them once. But yeah, let's go back to that game and think about what that beat was. That beat was by 1 point, while you had a night game on your own field. And it took a rule loophole that they had to then fix in the middle of the season, and a really, really shady offensive pass interference that almost never gets called for you to win. And, oh, by the way, there's still 1 second left in the game because he slid with the second game and timeout was called. And you still only won by 1 point. So if that's where you want to hang your hat, Oregon, I don't think that's the winning formula. I think you probably have to say this is a different look. This Ohio State team that we saw tonight was a different look, different attitude than any Ohio State team we've seen this season. And if it continues to go that way for the rest of what we see in the playoffs, this team's going to wear rings and hoist a trophy at the end of the season. This was a complete team minus the very questionable field goal attempt at the end of the first half and the Caleb Downs near mishap on the punt. Why on earth did he go for a 56-yard field goal when we've never seen him make a 38-yard field goal?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's thinking because he does have – he didn't on that kick. He actually does have the leg. He does. Fielding does. So I was thinking, like, how funny would this be if he actually makes this field goal because he has no accuracy. He actually does have the leg for it, which he didn't. It was like 10 yards
He
short.
Doesn't have the leg for it in 23-degree weather. That ball is a rock in 23-degree weather, right? I mean, these aren't sitting by the air heat blower on the bench and getting all puffy.
I love we got Ohio. I got my hey, we can. I love it. I don't know if Ohio State wins the national championship, which they might. they do have to deal with Ohio University.
That's a fair statement. The
So,
original Ohio.
I will listen. I'll trade the national championship. I will. If the Buckeyes win the national championship, maybe we'll lose to the Bobcats.
Yeah.
I think that's the least we can do.
Hey, that kind of
they obviously like lost intentionally to that horrible Michigan team that's headed to the Miracle Whip Bowl because they didn't even get in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, just to make everybody think that Ohio State sucks.
Can we agree that Duke's is the best mayonnaise? By the way,
Fantastic.
It's outstanding.
I like Hellman's.
Yeah.
But Duke's is better, and it's fantastic.
It is. It like I like Hellman's. And I grew up in a Miracle Whip house, but Duke's is by far better. Doesn't make the other ones bad. It's like saying who's the greatest of all time. Is it Jordan or is it LeBron? That doesn't mean whoever you don't choose sucks. Just means he's the second best.
It doesn't mean LeBron sucks. Good point. Okay, well, let's bring in upside down Patrick Murphy. I like do the upside down again. That was funnier. That was hilarious. All right, Heater. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good to see you, Pat.
Right. See ya.
Thanks, Heat. He's Heater. He is Pat Murphy, live and in living color from Ohio Stadium. Wow. How was your mouth agape? How shocked were you that when Ohio State's up 21-0, the total yards are like 183 to -6? How shocked were you, if at all?
I wouldn't say I was shocked. Tennessee's done this a few times this year where they have really bad first quarters. So what was most shocking was the second half, and just as the guys put it, keeping their foot on the gas, I think, and kind of making that final score. Because look, going into halftime, it was like, okay, if Tennessee comes out here and gets a touchdown, we're in a ball game, right?
Right.
So, they'd responded, which I thought they'd do. At some point, they were going to get that offense going, though they did have some injuries that obviously, prevented them from doing some of the things they normally do. But no, I don't mean that as a discredit to the Buckeyes. But certainly, the way that the second half went, and just it was a dominant performance. Jim Knowles said just now when we talked to him that he kind of got after the defense a little bit for letting up there towards the end of the first half in the locker room, and he knew that first drive is going to be so important to what they do. It's interesting because we've heard Ryan Day so often this year talk about that middle eight, right? You and I talked about it this week, and Tennessee had an opportunity with that.
Yep.
And the defense there in the start of the second half shut that down, and I think that kind of laid the groundwork for the rest of that half and the final score what it was.
It's crazy. Ohio State has not had a game like this, in my opinion, since Clemson 4 years ago in the CFP in the semifinals. Felt a lot like that. I'm sure there are many that come to mind. But what are some of the main takeaways from the press conference? Obviously, it was just Ryan Day was on, but it's on mute. What were some of the main takeaways from what Coach Day said and some of the players and anybody else?
Yeah, it's clear that the last 3 weeks affected this team. And I think there was two ways this was going to go, right? Because, Donovan Jackson said, basically everywhere they heard, fans, media, whatever, that they were, the worst offensive line or they couldn't play in this and whatnot. And they used it in the right way. It could have hurt them, if they handled that negativity that they were hearing from the outside in the wrong way. And so I think that was important. No one wants to lose that Michigan game, right? But if this team can go on this run and win a national title, and you look back and it's like that's the catalyst. I know that's not how you wanted it to happen, but
you take that 100 times out of 100, man.
Yeah. So there was that. Let's see. Jack and JT, we talked to both of them. This is what we expected, right, from these two defensive ends. This kind of back and forth performance that they had. My favorite play, though, from Jack was the play. Well, it may have done a couple times, but I noticed it once. Slowly walking off the field when Tennessee had substituted. Tennessee did that early, and I didn't think the Buckeyes would because they haven't done that very much. But Jack just walks off the field, both arms stretched out, just very slow. And, Tennessee moves so fast that it doesn't really affect them if you do that like it does Ohio State. But I was just like, that's fantastic. But great games for both of them. They're going to need that going forward, obviously. I think this whole defense, the fact that Davis and Igbinosun didn't get that interception is a crime that somebody should have to pay for. But yeah, I think just the general vibe of this press conference was the exact opposite of the last time we were in that room after Michigan.
And now they go to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, the Roses
New
are
Year's
out.
Day, Oregon. Yeah, I mean, like, and I guess the early line is Ohio State's favored by 1.5.
Interesting.
And this makes them very dangerous. I thought if they could get past Tennessee, I did not. I think a lot of us predicted Ohio State. I think all of us on our staff predicted Ohio State to win. I don't know. Maybe Bax predicted them to cover. I don't think anybody else predicted them to cover. We all predicted Ohio State to win by like 4 or something like that. So I don't think anybody saw a blowout coming. But I did say, listen, if Ohio State can get past Tennessee, that Ohio State's going to be very dangerous. They feel like they're very dangerous. I won't be surprised when I see the lines come out if Ohio State's the betting favorite to win the national championship now.
Yeah, I mean, if this team plays this way, I think they can win against anybody. And look, we haven't touched on it. I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but the offensive line and just you're rotating guards, which you and I both agreed that's not our favorite thing. But Ryan Day said, well, when you don't notice them, that's a good thing. And you didn't, because there weren't a ton of mistakes. In fact, there were some really good plays by, I'd say, each of them, maybe not so much Tegra, but Austin and Luke, I thought, played really well. Tegra was fine. I just think those other guys kind of took a step maybe tonight that he did not. And we'll see. I think they're going to continue to do that based on what Ryan Day said. Still not a huge fan, but if it works, it works. But just in general, after this offensive line has heard so much negativity, and look, you lose 2 players, you play like that against Michigan, that's what's going to happen. And again, they use that positively. But if they can keep playing like that, that's the question we've had, right? The offensive line. We keep coming back to that. And so I think if they play that way, they're aggressive the way that they were tonight. I mean, the shots to Jeremiah Smith are exactly what you want when you have a player like that on the field. One of the best cornerbacks in the SEC, maybe the country, had to just shove him out of bounds basically to prevent him catching a 3rd touchdown, second on him. So this is the Ohio State team that I think Buckeye fans want to see every week. Why we don't see it every week, I don't know. But I do think that, coming in, that's what I was hoping for was let's go see this version of Ohio State. They got it, and that's the reason you blow out a team like Tennessee, who I still think is a really good team. And, I think you should be proud of this win, both the team and the fans.
Pat, I'll get you out of here on this. I was not going to bring this up, but Andy on YouTube says Ohio State should hold open tryouts for field goal kicker. Someone from the soccer team must want to give it a shot. What do you think, Pat?
Did you watch College Game Day on Friday?
I'd never watched College Game Day.
Okay. Well,
I used to when I was in college.
McAfee had a kicker or a guy come out to kick that was a soccer player. Did not go well. Neither did the guy today. But look, that's fine. I think that it is having played soccer, I've not kicked field goals other than messing around. It's really different. And I think you could try it, but I don't know if you would have the kind of success. I think when you look at soccer players who have become good kickers, it's usually over a period of time after they're done playing soccer, or they did it both, high school and whatnot. So I keep seeing this. You keep bringing it up, Dave. If Ohio State wants to do it, I think that's fine. But like Devin Barkley, who played for the Columbus Crew and then came and kicked for Ohio State, I think there were 4 or 5 years between the end of his soccer career and when he started at Ohio State. And in that time, he was working on kicking. So I don't know if you could speed that up at all, but Ohio State doesn't have that long to find a new kicker, I don't think. Also, just why are you trying a 56-yard field goal with the guy who's already...
That's exactly what Heater was just saying. Like, right, yeah. I know. He does have the leg for it, as Heater was saying. He doesn't in 20-degree weather.
Yeah, not
he
tonight.
He does have the leg. He can kick a 60-yard field goal. He just has no accuracy. But then, of course, tonight I say that he kicked it like 40 yards. But
yeah, and barely. I mean, I think, look, I guess you don't want to throw that up there, try a Hail Mary, have it intercepted, and risk it getting returned. I'm surprised Tennessee didn't stick somebody back there and just, hey, we're gonna try and return it.
Right.
But that was weird to me. That was the only point in this game when I was like, are they starting to, Tennessee started to do some things? Are they starting to tighten up a little bit? Fortunately, it came out in the second half, and that was not the case. But, that was a weird one. I don't know. He missed 2 kicks against Michigan. Obviously, his confidence isn't high. Now you put him out there to kick a 56-yarder that he's almost certainly going to miss. I did not like that decision, but there were only a couple of those tonight, and that's not the case every game. I think they need to do more of the things that I like because that tends to work.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, hey, look, I mean, the season rolls on. Looks like you're going to California, my friend. Congratulations on that. Patrick Murphy, great stuff. We're going to bring Steve Helwagen in. I appreciate it, Pat.
All right. See ya.
See you, bud. He's Patrick Murphy. Let's bring in Steve Helwagen live from Ohio Stadium. Steve, welcome in. What do you man, the best performance for Ohio State since Clemson 4 years ago? What comes to mind first, my friend?
Yeah, you may have a winner on that assessment because in terms of important wins in a big game, I mean, they did beat Notre Dame twice, but, what did that really lead to? I mean, we know this leads now. You're in the Final Eight for the national championship. You're in the quarterfinals. And what a difference, my God, from 3 weeks ago, Dave, when we were sitting here, taking the shovel and piling the dirt on their grave, I mean, it was just but they put that 3 weeks to good use. They had some real good soul searching, it sounds like, that went on behind the scenes. And they got to the bottom of their problems, and they solved them and came back stronger for it. And today was total domination, as I said in the headline, total and complete domination, up 21-0 to start the game. Did have a little bit of hiccup there in the second quarter, stopped scoring and allowed Tennessee to put 10 points on the board. And man, how critical that start of the third quarter where you get they pick up one first down, you get the stop, then you go down the field, score, and you're up 28-10. And you do it again, 35-10, and it's play hang on Sloopy because this one is all over but the shouting. So, yeah, man, what a difference 3 weeks makes. And this is how this Ohio State team was destined to play. And if this is how they're going to play the next several games or however many games they get, I like their chances to win as many as they play. So this defense just dominating. Didn't let Iamaleava have an open, anything. I mean, he made like 4 plays. That was his whole day. And, we didn't figure his receivers were going to match up with Ohio State's secondary, and they didn't. We didn't figure the Tennessee secondary was going to match up with Ohio State's wide receivers, and they didn't. And that was the long and short and the extent of it. And Will Howard, total redemption for him. He played his best game, I think, yet as a Buckeye. And it's off to Oregon. And they are excited to have a second shot. It's very rare in this game of college football that you lose to a team and get a chance to play them again in the same season. That's just absurd. So, yeah, that's coming up like 10 days. I don't even know. It's January the 1st. These games, as you keep winning, these games keep coming real quick. So you don't have time to get to celebrate this one very long. It's on to the next one.
Get us out of here on this. Speaking of the next one, you like Ohio State's chances? I do.
Well, we have to consider that Oregon has obviously been sitting at home for 2 weeks, and we'll have a full 3 weeks off before they play Ohio State. Ohio State will have 10 days off. I don't think anybody really got banged up necessarily in this one, but I do think that you got to think about that in those terms, that Oregon will be the better rested team. Ohio State's definitely got the incentive to come out and play its best football. They don't feel like they did that when they met the first time up in Oregon. So, certainly the defense was pitiful that day, and they have a lot to atone for, certainly with that one. But, I think you got to be excited to see where this thing leads, on January the 1st out in California. I mean, a Rose Bowl, unlike any other. 2 Big Ten teams playing each other for the right to go to the semifinals. If they win, the winner would then play on January the 10th in Dallas at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And they win there. They play January 20th, national championship in Atlanta. So it's all right there in front of them. And, How about Penn State? They beat SMU like a drum, and now they get to play Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. They got a better draw than either Ohio State or Oregon, two teams that beat them, at least by a touchdown. So what do you say about that? Pretty ridiculous.
I know they'll redo how they do the buys. There's no doubt about that.
I think the top 4 or 5 champions should be in, but not necessarily the top 4 seeds. That's a bridge too far. So.
Yep. I'm with you. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right. Hey, good night, everybody. Have a great Christmas. And we're going to have a Zoom call with Ryan Day on Monday, and then in-person interviews with the coordinators and the players on the 27th and 28th here in Columbus. They will fly to California on the 29th. There'll be a big press conference out there on the 30th, coaches press conference out there 31st, game 5 o'clock Eastern time, January the 1st. Don't you miss it. Number 1 ranked Oregon coming your way. Here we go.
Buckeyes invaded the South today, man. I mean, like, not literally. They didn't go south, but they beat Kentucky.
Back to Butcher Holler, boys. Back to Butcher Holler. Sorry.
Beat Kentucky in basketball, and it wasn't close.
Long way back to Butcher Holler. See ya.
Never saw that coming. Ohio State just
Trail of Tears
in basketball, and then
71 to Cincinnati, 75 south to Nowheresville. Trail of Tears. Good night.
And then just beat the crap out of Tennessee in football. I love it. Steve, great stuff, man. I appreciate it.
All right, boys. See you later.
Great stuff from Steve Helwagen. All right, we're going to end it right there, my friends. I appreciate it. Good Sunday morning to you. And, hey, we'll be back with another What We Learned live on New Year's Day. It'll be New Year's night at that point. But thanks to all my guests. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to Heater. Thanks to Pat Murphy. Thanks to the Wagon. Really appreciate you guys. Big audience here. Can't thank you guys enough. Great job by the Buckeyes. Hell of a job by the Buckeyes. And now they get a chance. 3 wins away from the national championship. And they will face off against Oregon on New Year's Day. A little past 5 o'clock, Rose Bowl. You know how that works with the Rose Bowl. All right. Thanks, guys. And thanks to J-Book. Thanks to Heater. Thanks to Pat. Thanks to Steve. And thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your morning and a great Sunday. We'll see you on Monday on the Bucknuts Morning 5. Go Bucks.